The second drowning victim Trina saw, and this time, it was Scout. Port Charles had always known tragedy, but nothing prepared Trina Robinson for the night her world tilted on its axis again. For weeks, she had felt it, an eerie hum in the air, a tightening in her gut she couldn't articulate. Ever since she had discovered the first drowning victim in the Charles River earlier that month, a young woman she couldn't save, Trina had not slept a full night. The screams, the cold water, the weight of helplessness, it haunted every exhale. But the universe was crueler than she imagined. Because the second time she saw a body floating in the water, it wasn't a stranger. It was a child. It was Scout Kane. And it would rip Port Charles apart. Earlier that day, Port Charles had been unusually peaceful. The harbor breeze was warm, and the sun smeared the sky with honeygold streaks. Michael and Willow strolled with Wiley and Amelia. Sam and Dante had finally managed to get a rare day off. Anne Scout, intelligent, adventurous, her mother's spark burning in her eyes, was buzzing with excitement for the overnight school nature program. Sam kissed her daughter's head. "Remember, stick with your buddy. No wandering." "I promise." Scout giggled, racing to join her classmates. Dante snapped a photo, Scout flashing a bright, gap-toothed grin, backpack bouncing against her shoulders. No one knew it would be the last picture taken of her alive. Across town, Trina tried to distract herself. Spencer's absence these past months had carved out a quiet ache in her soul. Although she'd been stronger than anyone expected, there were moments, solitary, chilly moments, where his absence felt like standing on a cliff with no ground beneath her feet. To clear her head, she took the ferry to the scenic overlook near the Charles River's south bend, sketchbook in hand. It was her sanctuary. She set her bag down, inhaled the warm evening air, and began sketching the skyline glowing under fading daylight. But then, a scream. High-pitched. Distant. Trina froze. Another scream. Children. Her heart stuttered. She dropped her pencil. Then she heard the splashing. And her blood turned to ice. "Help! Somebody help!" Trina sprinted before the second scream finished echoing. Her shoes pounded the dirt, then the boardwalk, then the metal grates of the river's observation deck. By the time she reached the edge, her lungs were burning. She saw chaos. Teachers shouting, kids crying, a flashlight beam whipping wildly across the water. "What happened?" she yelled, running toward them. "A child fell. We can't." She was right behind us, and then, oh God. Trina didn't wait. She vaulted over the railing and hit the water. Cold. Black. Bottomless. The current tugged viciously at her legs, pulling her toward the deeper channel. She forced her eyes open underwater, searching, searching. Then she saw her. A small shape. Floating. Face pale under the rippling moonlight. Trina's heart nearly stopped. "No," she whispered underwater, kicking downward as hard as she could. She caught the child under the arms and fought the current with frantic, desperate strength. When she surfaced, she gasped. "Call 911. Get a rope." Hands reached out to her. Together, they pulled the little girl onto the shore. Trina collapsed beside her, hair dripping, hands trembling. She turned the child over, and her breath shattered into a scream. "Scout!" Scout's lips were blue. Her chest did not rise. Her small hand lay limp in Trina's grip. "No, no, no, come on." Trina begged, beginning CPR. 1, 2, 3, 4. She pinched Scout's nose, breathed into her, then pumped again. "Wake up, sweetheart. Please, wake up." Teachers sobbed. Children screamed. The river roared behind them. Trina continued until her arms shook violently. "Please. Scout, please." Lights flashed. Paramedics sprinted toward them. A medic touched Trina's shoulder. "We've got her." Trina stumbled back on shaking legs as they took over CPR. Dante and Sam's faces would be seared into her memory forever. They reached the riverbank just as the medics loaded Scout onto a stretcher. Sam screamed her daughter's name, voice cracking with agony. Dante pulled her back before she collapsed into the mud. "Is she breathing? Is she breathing?" Sam begged. No one answered. GH's emergency department became a battlefield of fear. Sam clung to Dante's arm so tightly his fingers went numb. Michael and Willow arrived in seconds, breathless. Jason tore through the doors. Elizabeth, Epiphany's former wisdom echoing through her, took command of triage. Trina sat alone in the waiting room, soaked to the bone, arms wrapped around herself. Her mind replayed everything. Scout's tiny body under the water, the cold limpness, the way her eyelashes glistened like ice. She had promised herself she'd never see another drowning victim. But she had. And this time, it was worse. A child. Someone she knew. Someone the whole town loved. Curtis and Portia arrived next, rushing to embrace her. "Baby, what happened?" Portia whispered. Trina couldn't speak. Her body shook uncontrollably. Curtis cupped her face, his voice gentle. "You saved her once already. Whatever happens next, it's not on you. Do you hear me?" But all Trina could hear was the silence of Scout's chest refusing to rise. Inside the trauma room, chaos ruled. Scout's small body lay on the table, pale beneath unforgiving lights. Charged to 40. Clear. Her body jerked. No rhythm. Again. The monitor beeped a flat, merciless tone. Sam's sobs echoed down the hallway as she fought against Dante's grip. "I have to be with her." "Sam, no, let them work." Jason stood frozen, jaw clenched, tears he refused to release burning behind his eyes. The last time he had felt this helpless was when he lost Jake years ago. "Come on, Scout," Elizabeth whispered over the girl's head. Another shock. Another attempt. Another agonizing pause. Then, "We have a pulse." Time froze. Sam collapsed against Dante, sobbing in raw relief. Jason exhaled for the first time in minutes. But the victory was fragile. Scout was alive. But barely. And something about the way she had gone into that water didn't add up. Within hours, the riverbank was swarming with police. Dante stood beside Jordan, eyes hard, jaw locked. "This wasn't an accident," he said quietly. Jordan nodded grimly. "Iagra." The footprints around the embankment were wrong. There were too many. Some were larger than a child's. The railing nearby had fresh scratches, as if someone's nails had scraped desperately trying to hold on. The teacher who lost track of Scout insisted she'd been behind the group seconds before she vanished. Kids whispered that Scout had been talking to a man by the trees. But the most disturbing clue. A small bracelet lay in the mud. Scout's bracelet, with the clasp broken. As if it had been ripped off. Dante bagged it carefully. Someone had been there. Someone who didn't want to be seen. And someone had put Scout in that water. Later that night, Trina visited Scout's room. Machines beeped softly. Sam sat beside her daughter, stroking her hand. Trina hesitated at the doorway. "Sam, I'm so sorry." Sam looked up, tears streaking her face, but she offered a weak, genuine smile. "You saved my baby. Don't you ever apologize." "But." "No but. Without you, Scout wouldn't have made it to the hospital." Trina swallowed hard. The words helped, but they didn't erase the horror in her mind. When she left the room, she found Dante waiting for her. "We need to talk," he said. "Did something happen?" "Trina, the evidence suggests Scout didn't fall." She felt her stomach drop. "You mean someone pushed her?" Dante exhaled. "It looks like someone grabbed her." Trina's blood ran cold. The image of Scout's limp body flickered behind her eyes. "Dante, what are you saying?" "There's a possibility Scout was targeted." Trina shook her head. Who would hurt a child? "That's what we're going to find out." But Trina already knew one thing. Whoever took Scout to the river, Trina had seen their shadow. Right before she jumped into the water. Trina didn't want to remember. But the human mind is cruel, it reveals the worst moments when you least expect them. Later that night, as she walked along the hospital's quiet corridor, flashes slammed into her vision. A dark shape behind the trees. A tall figure moving fast. The sound of hurried footsteps splashing away from the riverbank. Trina gasped and steadied herself against the wall. She hadn't been alone out there. Someone had been watching. Someone had fled when she screamed. And if she had run faster, if she had turned her head an instant sooner, she could have seen the perpetrator's face. Trina covered her mouth, breath trembling. What if the person who pushed Scout had been the same person who drowned the first victim? What if this was a serial attacker? And what if Trina had almost been victim number 3? The first drowning victim, the one who started Trina's nightmares, had been a college student, Emily Porter, age 19. Her death had been ruled accidental. But Trina never believed that. Emily's hands had been scraped raw, as if she'd clawed at something. Her wrist had the same bruise pattern Scout now had, a half-moon imprint. A hand. A tight grip. A forceful push. Trina sat suddenly, pulling her knees to her chest in the quiet hallway. What if Emily and Scout were attacked by the same person? She whispered into the empty air. What if he's still out there? And then, a voice behind her. You're asking the right questions. Trina jolted and turned. It was Jordan. We think you're right, Jordan said. We're reopening Emily Porter's case. But why go after Scout? That's what we're trying to understand. Jordan knelt to meet Trina's eyes. Trina, Emily was an art major at PCU. You take classes in the same building. Did you ever cross paths with her? Trina's breath hitched. Yes. I saw her once. She was arguing with someone. Who? I don't know. But I remember something. It's important. Anything helps. Trina swallowed, thinking hard. He had a tattoo. On his hand. A snake. Jordan went still. Because that symbol belonged to someone they hadn't seen in years. Someone dangerous. Someone connected to an even darker chapter of Port Charles' history. Jordan didn't say the name aloud. Not yet. But the same symbol had appeared years ago, connected to a criminal organization dismantled by Anna, Robert, and the WSB. The last remaining operative, known only as Viper, had disappeared. Rumors whispered that he resurfaced occasionally. Never caught, never identified. And if Viper was back, and targeting girls linked to PCU, why Scout? Why Emily? Jordan looked at Trina with grim clarity. Someone may be sending a message. Trina felt her heartbeat thunder. To who? Jordan hesitated. To Spencer. The room spun. What, Spencer? No, that's impossible. His. In Paris, yes. But before he left, he crossed paths with people connected to that faction. People tied to the Cassadine legacy. If someone wants to hurt Spencer. Jordan's voice lowered. They might go after the people he loves. Trina's knees went weak. So you think Scout was attacked, because of me? Jordan didn't answer. She didn't have to. The silence was enough. Hours later, as Trina tried to rest in the quiet family lounge, her phone buzzed. A video call. Spencer Cassadine. Her breath caught. With trembling fingers, she answered. Spencer. His face appeared blurry at first, the Eiffel Tower glittering behind him. But the second he saw her, his smile fell. Trina? What's wrong? Her voice broke. It's Scout. Spencer's eyes widened. What happened? She was pushed into the river. I found her. I pulled her out. She almost died. Spencer's face drained of color. Oh my God. And Spencer, Trina whispered. The police think the person who pushed her might have been trying to hurt me. Because of you. Spencer froze. Trina, listen to me carefully. His voice lowered into the familiar intensity she'd missed so much. Get protection. Stay with your parents. Don't go anywhere alone. Spencer, who is after us? He exhaled sharply. I didn't want you involved in this. I thought I left it behind. I thought coming to Paris would end it. What did you leave behind? Trina pressed. Spencer hesitated. Then, I'll explain everything soon. I'm coming home. The call ended, and Trina felt both relief and dread, because Spencer never came back to Port Charles unless a storm followed him. Just before dawn, Sam's exhausted voice echoed down the hallway. She's opening her eyes. Scout's waking up. Doctors and nurses rushed into the room. Trina, Jordan, Dante, Jason, Willow, Michael, everyone poured in behind them. Scout blinked weakly, groggy, her tiny hand tightening on her mother's. Mummy? Sam burst into tears. Baby, thank God. Thank God. Jason stood at the foot of the bed, silent tears falling. Scout looked around at the crowd, confused. Then her gaze landed on Trina. You jumped in the water. You saved me. Trina knelt beside her with shaking breaths. I'm so glad you're okay. Scout frowned suddenly. Her small eyebrows furrowed. There was a man. Every adult in the room went still. Dante stepped closer. Scout, what man? Scout swallowed. The one who pushed me. Sam gasped. Jason's eyes went murderous. What did he look like, sweetheart? Willow asked gently. Scout lifted her hand and mimicked something.
2 fingers slithering like a snake. Anne whispered.
He had a snake on his hand.
The room erupted.
Oh my God, Trina whispered. It was him.
Scout's voice trembled. He said he wasn't done.
He said next time, he'd take the girl with the pretty hair.
Trina's blood froze.
Everyone turned slowly toward her. Because Trina
was the only Girl Scout had been talking to that day.
Over the next 24 hours, panic stormed the city. A predator was loose in Port Charles. A predator who pushed children into rivers, killed young women, stalked Trina, and left threats behind.
Jordan mobilized patrols.
Anna arrived within hours to consult. Robert pulled strings with the WSB. Curtis refused to let Trina out of his sight. Yet despite all efforts, the man with the snake tattoo remained invisible.
But his message was loud. He was hunting Trina.
And anyone connected to her was in danger. Through old WSB files and Cassadine intel, a horrifying picture began to form. Victor Cassadine, before his death, had recruited multiple operatives for covert missions. When the operation collapsed, most fled or were captured.
Except one.
Codename, Viper. Known traits.
Asterisk highly skilled in stealth.
Asterisk expert swimmer. Asterisk specialized in abductions. Asterisk snake tattoo on right hand. Asterisk never leaves survivors.
Anna looked at Jordan with a chill.
If Viper has resurfaced, he isn't working alone. He's finishing Victor's unfinished business.
And what business is that? Dante asked. Anna hesitated.
Destroying the Cassadine line, starting with the people they love.
Trina's stomach dropped.
So Spencer, me, anyone connected to him is a target.
Anna nodded gravely.
Yes. And Emily Porter?
Trina whispered.
Wrong place,
wrong time. She saw something she shouldn't have. A chilling silence fell.
And Scout?
Jason asked, voice cracking. Anna exhaled. To terrorize Spencer. To send a warning.
Michael slammed his fist on the table. That bastard used a child to make a point.
Dante answered.
And he's not done. Later that night, Trina dreamed of the river.
She saw the water swallowing Scout.
She heard the first victim's final gasps.
She saw the shadow in the trees. Then she jolted awake, trembling. But this time, she remembered something new. Not his face, but his voice. Low, cold, like rocks grinding underwater.
And she remembered the exact sentence he whispered before disappearing into the darkness. Tell the Cassadine boy the river is hungry again.
Trina gasped. The man wanted Spencer to drown. Just like the others.
2 days later, Port Charles plunged into chaos again.
A 911 call. A struggle by the waterfront.
A scream. By the time officers arrived, a woman was found unconscious by the pier.
Bruised. Barely breathing. And on her wrist, the same half-moon handprint. Viper had struck again. And this time, he left a message carved into the pier's wood.
The entire city trembled.
Because only one person fit that description. Trina.
3 days later, the doors of GH burst open. Spencer Cassadine stormed inside, breathless, eyes blazing with fury and fear.
Where is she?
Where's Trina?
Trina rushed into his arms, sobbing into his chest. Spencer held her as if the universe were trying to rip her away.
I'm here, he whispered fiercely. No one will touch you again. Jason entered the hallway, answering the questions Spencer hadn't yet asked. Viper is in Port Charles.
Spencer's jaw tightened into something lethal.
Then I'm not leaving until he's dead. Jordan, Anna, Dante, Curtis, Jason, and Spencer formed an unlikely alliance. A trap was set near the river, baited with false intel, just enough to lure Viper out of hiding. Trina refused to stay behind. You're not using me like a damsel in distress, she said. I won't sit in a locked room while others fight for me.
Spencer grabbed her hand. Because you're brave.
Too brave, he whispered. But I'm begging you, let us protect you.
Trina shook her head.
We protect each other. And so, she stayed, shielded, watched, but present.
Then, at 2:14 a.m.,
a shadow appeared along the water.
Tall, unhurried, snake tattoo glowing under moonlight. Viper.
He turned his head toward Trina, smirking. Pretty hair, he hissed.
Spencer lunged.
A fight exploded, violent, fast, brutal. Water sprayed.
Gunshots cracked. Shouts erupted.
Viper fought like a phantom. Slippery, deadly, trained. But Spencer fought like a man with everything to lose.
And Trina. Trina saw the opening.
When Viper grabbed Spencer by the throat, dragging him toward the water, Trina acted without thinking. She grabbed a metal flashlight and slammed it into Viper's wrist.
He howled. Spencer broke free.
Dante tackled the assailant. Jason restrained him.
Jordan cuffed him. It was over. Finally. Scout fully recovered. Sam and Dante took her home. Jason visited her every day.
Michael, Willow, and Wiley folded her into warm family arms.
Trina finally slept without nightmares.
Spencer stayed in Port Charles, indefinitely. Their reunion was quiet, intimate, healing. Sitting at the harbor where everything changed, Spencer took her hands. I could have lost you. You didn't, Trina whispered.
Because you came back.
He kissed her, soft and grateful. For the first time in weeks, the river felt calm.
But Port Charles knew one truth. Peace never lasted long.
And though Viper was behind bars, his final words haunted the police interview room.
Cut off one snake's head, and another grows in its place.
But that was a story for another day.
For now, Scout was alive. Trina was safe.
Spencer was home. And Port Charles exhaled.